Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're setting our sights on a truly dynamic company, Micron Technology. We're getting you ready for their upcoming earnings report, really unpacking everything you need to know. Before we jump in, if you find these discussions valuable, please remember to subscribe, like, and comment. It genuinely helps us create more content like this. And if you're feeling generous, you can always consider buying us a coffee. Also, if there's a specific company you'd like us to look into, just drop a comment below, and we'll certainly see what we can do. Okay, now, let's unpack Micron Technology's Q4 report. We've sifted through the latest analyses to pull out the most important insights for you. So let's get right to it. When exactly is this report coming out, and, well, what are the initial market expectations looking like?
Right. The timing here is definitely key. Micron is set to report its earnings on September 23, 2025. That's going to be right after the market closes. And then there's a conference call scheduled for 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So, it's really just around the corner.
Okay, September 23rd.
Yeah.
And what are the analysts thinking? What are they penciling in for revenue and earnings per share this time around?
Well, if you look at the consensus, it's pretty interesting. Explicit Q4 revenue numbers aren't always, nailed down this far out, but we can get a pretty good idea. Their Q3 revenue was $9.3 billion, and the company guided for 15% sequential growth for Q4.
Oh, okay.
So if you run those numbers, it points to an estimate somewhere around, say, $10.7 billion for revenue.
$10.7 billion, got it. And EPS?
For earnings per share, Zacks has a consensus estimate of $2.51. But then you look at Nasdaq and Zacks based on their latest aggregation, and it's actually a bit higher, pointing more towards $2.67. So a little bit of a range there, but both are pretty strong numbers.
Okay, so somewhere between $2.51 and $2.67 on EPS, and that $10.7 billion inferred revenue. Did Micron give any specific guidance themselves beyond that 15% revenue growth figure?
Yeah, they were quite clear on the revenue side. They specifically guided for fiscal Q4 25 revenue to grow another 15% sequentially right on top of that strong Q3 number. That's a direct signal from management. Now, our sources didn't have readily available explicit EPS guidance from the company for this quarter, but that revenue target alone, well, it sets a pretty high expectation. It definitely suggests they see the momentum continuing.
That makes sense. Knowing the projections is helpful, but how has Micron actually done recently? Like looking back at the last few quarters, does their performance give us any clues, any patterns maybe?
Absolutely. Looking back is crucial. What can we learn from their past performance? It definitely helps frame expectations. So take Q3 of fiscal 25. Micron reported EPS of $1.91. Now, the consensus was somewhere between $1.57 and $1.59.
Wow, so a solid beat.
A really solid beat, yeah. A positive surprise of what? 32.2 cents to 0.34 cents per share. And it wasn't just earnings. Their Q3 revenue also came in strong at $9.3 billion, beating the $8.83 billion consensus. And what's really worth noting is this trend, we've seen positive EPS surprises in recent quarters pretty consistently.
So it's not just a one-off thing.
Exactly. It suggests they're either managing expectations well or, more likely, consistently executing better than analysts predict. That's a positive signal.
That's a really strong track record.
Yeah.
But let's dig a bit deeper. What's been driving that? What are the key metrics or parts of the business that are really telling the story behind this growth?
Right. Digging into the how. How did they achieve this? Well, that record Q3 revenue was significantly driven by growth in two key areas. DRAM, which is, your standard memory, and importantly, HBM high bandwidth memory. HBM is really that crucial component for AI applications. It's the high-speed stuff.
The stuff everyone's talking about with AI chips.
Precisely. It helps overcome those data bottlenecks. Yeah. It's specialized, high performance, and currently a very high margin product for them. And even more striking, look at their data center revenue. It more than doubled year over year in Q3. Doubled. And hit an all-time high. Yeah, that tells you their products are right at the heart of this massive build-out happening in data centers, largely driven by AI. And you see it in the cash flow, too. Operating cash flow in Q3 was strong, $4.61 billion. That's up both year over year and quarter over quarter. It paints a picture of really robust health.
So strong history, clear drivers like HBM and data centers. What about this specific quarter we're heading into? Any big news or broader market trends influencing Micron right now?
Yeah, looking at the immediate context, the Q3 results themselves were a huge catalyst, sort of setting the stage. They highlighted that record DRAM revenue, sure, but also that nearly 50% sequential jump in HBM and just how strong AI and data center markets were. And critically, management has kept reinforcing the message they expect continued strong demand. especially from AI memory needs. That's a consistent theme.
And how does the bigger picture of the sort of tech landscape play into this? Is it just Micron doing well, or is the whole sector kind of lifting?
That's a really important question about the macro environment. The whole chip sector is, frankly, riding a pretty powerful wave right now. There's huge investment going into AI infrastructure. That's the big one. Think of it like building the railroads for the digital age.
Right.
But beyond AI, we're also seeing a rebound, maybe slow but steady, in consumer electronics. Plus, improving demand for PCs and servers. And crucially, memory pricing has remained strong, which obviously helps Micron directly. It all lines up with what the company's been saying.
So analysts are pretty bullish then.
Very much so. As a group, they're expecting continued strong earnings growth, not just now, but looking out to fiscal year 2026. The projection there is something like a 75% increase in EPS.
75%, that's quite optimistic.
It is. It speaks volumes about the confidence in the whole AI-driven cycle and Micron's place within it.
Okay, so putting all these pieces together, the history, the drivers like HBM, the strong guidance, these big market trends, what are the potential ways this could play out? Best case, worst case for the earnings report itself?
Yeah, let's map that out. In a really bullish scenario, the best case, you'd see Micron clearly beating both the revenue and EPS estimates we talked about. That beat would likely come from, well, even stronger than expected demand from AI and data centers, maybe another big jump in HBM shipments or pricing. And crucially, in that scenario, their forward guidance would have to remain really positive, signaling that this high growth isn't just a blip, it's sustainable into next year. That would really excite the market.
That sounds great for bulls. But, expectations are already pretty high, aren't they?
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
What's the flip side, the bearish case, look like?
That's the key risk, right? Expectations are high. So the bearish case could involve a few things. Maybe we see signs that demand is starting to plateau, even slightly, or perhaps margin pressure starts to creep in, maybe costs are rising, or the pace of AI infrastructure build-out slows down just a bit unexpectedly. These things can happen.
Or maybe the results themselves are okay, maybe even meet expectations, but management guides for a slowdown in that sequential growth rate. Or if their outlook for fiscal 26 sounds more cautious than analysts expect.
Right, the guidance. That often matters more.
It really does. Any sign that the momentum is slowing, even if the current quarter was good, could trigger a negative reaction given how much growth is priced in.
So for listeners tuning in, when that report drops, amidst all the numbers, what's the single most important thing to zero in on? The key metric?
Yeah, if you had to pick one thing, or maybe two, it's absolutely the revenue from data center and HBM products. That's the engine.
Okay.
We need to see if that strength continued or even accelerated. And alongside that, keep a very close eye on the gross margin trend. Are they maintaining profitability? And then, as we just discussed, maybe most importantly, management's commentary and specific guidance for fiscal 2026. That outlook is paramount.
Data center, HBM revenue, margins, and the forward guidance.
Got it. All right, bringing it all together then, what's your overall feeling heading into this report?
Bullish, bearish, cautious. And what does that imply for someone thinking about trading or investing around this?
Okay, the big picture takeaway. I'd say the overall leaning is definitely bullish. You just have too many positive factors lining up. Record demand, where it counts most AI and data centers, clear positive guidance from the company itself previously, and strong analyst expectations. Barring some kind of major unforeseen shock to the whole sector, the momentum seems to be strongly in Micron's favor right now.
Okay, bullish leaning. If you had to put a number on it, like conviction level, scale of 1 to 10.
That's always tough, isn't it? But given the consistency we've seen and the power of the AI trend, I'd probably put it at an 8.
An 8? That's pretty confident.
It is. The underlying demand signals and their recent track record of beating expectations are very compelling.
So what holds it back from a 9 or 10?
Well, there are always risks, right? The broader macro environment is still a bit uncertain globally. And the pace of AI spending, while massive, can sometimes be lumpy. These are factors mostly outside Micron's control. Plus, the semiconductor space is always intensely competitive. So an 8 reflects strong confidence, but acknowledges those remaining uncertainties.
Makes sense. So for people looking at potential strategies around this earnings event, what should they consider, given that expected volatility in your bullish lean?
Right, strategy. Well, given that earnings often cause significant price swings, some might look at volatility plays, things like straddles or strangles, which can profit from a big move either way.
If you expect movement but aren't sure which direction.
Exactly. But for investors who share that bullish conviction, especially on the long-term AI and data center story, they might consider overweighting Micron heading into the report. But, and this is a big but, they absolutely have to watch that guidance risk we talked about. If the outlook disappoints, you need to be ready to reassess. It's really about balancing that conviction with careful risk management.
It really does feel like Micron's performance is becoming almost a barometer for the whole AI infrastructure build-out, doesn't it?
I think that's a great way to put it. Absolutely. They're so central to supplying the critical memory components, especially HBM. Their results, particularly the strength in data center and HBM, really do give us a read on the health and pace of that entire ecosystem build out.
So if they do continue to knock it out of the park, driven by this AI demand, what does that signal more broadly?
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? If Micron keeps exceeding expectations because HBM and data center demand is just that strong, what does that tell us about the trajectory for everyone else involved in AI? How much faster might this whole technological shift happen across different industries? We're talking healthcare, automotive, science. It potentially signals an acceleration we're only just beginning to grasp. It's definitely something to ponder beyond just this one earnings report.
A great thought to chew on indeed. Well, thank you for joining us for this really insightful discussion on Micron technology. We hope this look ahead at their earnings leaves you feeling well informed. Remember to stay curious, keep learning, and we'll catch you next time.